Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here as always. Today we have a special guest, another YouTuber in the crypto space, Cryptocito. If you haven't yet, please go subscribe to his channel. Really well worth it, especially if you're into interoperability, which you know that I am. So today we're going to be talking about Cosmos DeFi. This is sort of the world that he lives in, because a lot of people are priced out of Ethereum DeFi. There's lots of yield to be had in other places. So we'll talk about that today, but thanks for being here, my friend.
Yeah, it's a true honor, man. I'm a big fan of yours and seen your videos a couple of years ago already. So you're one of the most valuable YouTubers out there, I guess. And yeah, I
I
just
appreciate that.
joined the crypto YouTube sphere around, 1.5 years ago almost. And yeah, stumbled upon Cosmos earlier this year. And since then, I'm a big fan. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, and it's one of those spaces right now that I think people are not yet fully aware of how impactful it's going to be. You know, the Cosmos world, Polkadot, Icon to an extent, interoperability and flexible protocols like this are going to be very important. So DeFi wise, can you maybe to start us off, can you explain like what the Cosmos ecosystem has in terms of DeFi and what makes it unique for DeFi ecosystem in its interoperable nature?
Yeah, I mean, I think first off, it's really important to understand like the whole purpose of Cosmos in the first place, right? And Cosmos, I mean, you covered it also on your channel, but the whole point is basically to build this internet of blockchains, right? Where you have sovereign blockchains that are able to communicate to each other. And with the launch of IBC earlier this year, this became a reality, right? So now you actually have a kind of like TCP/IP equivalent for the blockchain economy that allows sovereign blockchains to kind of like transfer value in a seamless and trustless and decentralized way, right? So that's pretty cool. And I think this has also been the flagship product of everyone involved in Cosmos over the past couple of years. Obviously, Tendermint is one of the main companies behind. So all these guys have worked really hard around the clock to ship that. And in crypto, there's always delays. So people were like, when is it coming? But it's there now. And then it basically just laid around for a couple of months and didn't really have a lot of traction. And then in June 19th of this year, which is also my birthday, that was the
Hey, there
day
you go.
when Osmosis launched, right? So
Mhm.
Osmosis is the first kind of like killer application that took IBC mainstream, or basically gave birth to real adoption to IBC. And it's a great product, a decentralized automated market maker. So what they did is basically they replicated the best of Balancer and some elements of Uniswap and everything that works in the Ethereum DeFi world, and replicated that onto Cosmos with IBC, right? So it's basically Balancer on steroids with an interconnected blockchain ecosystem. So what many people don't even know, and that's even Osmosis users, they even had their first IDO, right? Liquidity bootstrapping pool with Regen Network. So that was the first time that you could bootstrap liquidity, and also as an investor and as a Kepler user. Kepler is the native interchain wallet that people can use to engage with all these DeFi protocols on Cosmos, and could participate in the bonding curve and bootstrapping events. So that was pretty cool. But obviously what most people are doing now, and that's still one of the best kept secrets in crypto. So actually, I know a lot of cosmonauts are going to hate me for revealing that, but that's obviously the APYs on Osmosis, right? So Osmosis, they launched their own chain, and they have their own governance coin that provides security for the underlying chain, but also 45% of the whole token of all the tokens are being issued through liquidity pools, right? So you can actually farm Osmo at 150, 200, 250% APYs, and then you can compound them by natively staking them to the network, which also has pretty high APYs because it just launched, right?
Hmm.
So it's a great product that really took IBC mainstream, generated, I think, 30,000 active users in the first month. Obviously, it's still early. It's experimental early stage technology, right? So that's always something that people need to be aware of. Like, this is risky, right? Never go all into those pools.
Right.
But yeah, I've been using it since day one, and I'm a giant fan. And that's kind of like the first main Cosmos DeFi application that really really went viral in that sense. And then there's two others, and then we can talk about other things. The second one that I would point out is Emeris. Emeris is kind of like a DeFi dashboard that is basically a front end, but it gives access to the Gravity DEX, right? And the Gravity DEX is natively built on the Cosmos Hub. So the Cosmos Hub, for those who don't know, is basically the home of Atom, right? Which we all know is now top 30 cryptocurrency, pretty large, $6 billion evaluation. And Emeris gives access to Gravity DEX, which is running on the Cosmos Hub. And you can also provide liquidity there. There's no native coin yet, because actually the purpose is to kind of like maximize the utility here for Atoms. But there might be, I mean, there's like community discussions like, hey, how can we incentivize people to, use Emeris and provide liquidity here on Gravity DEX? So this is probably also something to play around with. And we've seen on, apps like, or dApps like Uniswap, whenever you're early to something, maybe some airdrop or something is going to come in the future. We don't know, but sometimes those airdrops are pretty significant. So I'm using that also. And the third one is also pretty interesting, is from Persistence, which is also Cosmos ecosystem project. And they have built something that is called P-Stake, which is basically a liquid staking solution for Atom, where you can lock in your Atoms, which are then staked natively on the Cosmos Hub chain, but then you get an ERC20 representation of the underlying staked asset, and you can use it in Ethereum DeFi. So that's another very, very cool thing. And yeah, I mean, it's still very early, but I think it's really exciting stuff, for the sake that it's interoperable, it's seamless, it's powered by Tendermint, meaning that, settlement is pretty fast. And like you said earlier, on Ethereum, a lot of people are priced out. So through something like Emeris, Gravity DEX, and Osmosis, people can now enjoy DeFi again.
Yeah, that's an underrated thing, because in Ethereum right now, there are still opportunities to do really well in DeFi. The problem is that a lot of times, even like getting in and getting out can be expensive for people. And if you don't have a relatively large amount of funds, you could end up completely erasing your profits and gas fees if you don't time it right, and if you're unlucky in general. So I think this is good. So if somebody wants to learn though about the Cosmos ecosystem, and obviously it's another set of tooling, it's a new wallet, and in many ways with IBC, like inter-blockchain communication, it's kind of a new paradigm for people to understand. How did you go about learning that stuff? When you first went in and tried to learn how to use Osmosis, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I joined the Cosmos community basically earlier this year, and I was really surprised how the developers are actually engaging with the community, right? And they explain stuff. They explain what they do, how they do, where do you need to click. So I remember one of my earliest kind of like engagements was when Jack Zempolin, who is a core developer at Cosmos and IBC and all these things, jumped on a call with me and literally walked me through like, okay, you have questions, I can explain you stuff. So that was kind of like my entry point. And then from there, obviously, I got really, really curious to just test out things by myself. And I think that's also something that people in crypto are sometimes a bit too lazy to do, is to just use the products, right? And just play around with it. Not for the sake of like investing and trying to get rich quick or speculating on the price, but just to understand, how do things work? How do bridges work? What do I need to do, right? What does it actually mean behind the scenes? And I think this is something that everybody should do, is just, learning by doing. That's how I kind of like got most of my knowledge here. But again, in Cosmos, the developers are pretty approachable. You can talk with them. You can, on Twitter, there's so much accounts that I recommend to follow. And there's a couple of communities, Cosmos ecosystem community, then there's an Emeris chat, then there's an Osmosis chat. I have my own Telegram group as well. So there's a bunch of cosmonauts in there these days.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think overall it's just engage with the community, use the products. Learning by doing is, I think, the best thing you can do. And then also engage with the developers, which is also something that most people are maybe sometimes also scared, to ask wrong questions or something like that. But I think that's also something anybody can do.
One other thing that I just thought of, as you were saying that, is that I've noticed a lot of these groups that are very responsive, right? You have core developers, or you have developer evangelists, or you have people affiliated with the project answering questions, helping people out. I've noticed that there are actually now a lot of scammers that are taking advantage of that fact. And so they lurk around in these groups. And when you go and ask for help, they will message you, they'll DM you and say, hey, let me help you. Can you share your screen? And they're trying to get you to share, some sort of information, whether that be get you to drop your seed phrase into a web app, or MetaMask is a big one where they try and get you to show your MetaMask QR and they snipe it and then they take your funds. So I just want to point that out, make sure that you're being careful and prudent about verifying that you're speaking to who you think you are, and, checking the handle, checking it twice, being very careful. And just remember, never put your seed phrase or your private key into a web application. There's never, not even one instance where that's a good idea and that you should be doing that. So I wanted to call that out because I think I was speaking to someone recently, may have been Cosmos, in the Cosmos world, who got caught with that. And, I want to make sure people are safe.
Yeah, and I would love to add one thing to that. It's also, when you want to join the Telegram group of a project, don't go just on Telegram and type in the name of the project.
Yeah.
Because most likely there's going to be 10 other groups with 10 times the following, with the exact same names, even the admins have the same names, but it's all fake. And it talks about giveaways or weird things. So never join Telegram groups of any project, whether it's Cosmos, whether it's Cardano, Polkadot, doesn't matter. Always go through their kind of like official website. Make sure that you're an official link, join the real Telegram group, because I think this is the biggest scam there. And also regarding Kepler, there was actually something last week, I think, where somebody created a fake extension on Mozilla or Fire, I don't know which browser, but people downloaded it and lost hundreds of atoms, to scammers. So that's also something.
Yeah.
Always double, triple, quadruple check that you're on the official Telegram channels and the official browser extensions of these wallets, right? Because now you see more and more DEXs also on other chains going live. And it's important to always make sure that you are not being scammed here.
Yeah. The more successful a chain gets and the more users it gets, and now, like with Osmosis, for example, you mentioned, like, you have people with high yields. That means people are going to want to bring in more funds, and that's when the scammers and the hackers come and start trying to do something. And so just being aware, I think, will save a lot of people from falling into those traps, because it's very easy to do. Even if you have experience in the space and you've been doing this a while, you kind of get stuck in trying to solve a problem and you're not thinking as clearly. So wanted to throw that out there. But, pivoting back to Cosmos, and one of the sort of the fundamental things, you talked about inter-blockchain communication and the foundational element of making Cosmos the internet of blockchains. There's also this idea of, bridging to other chains that might not be native to the Cosmos ecosystem. Are you seeing any movement there in terms of focal points?
Yeah, so this is a very, very good question. And obviously for Cosmos SDK native chains like Terra, for example, it's very easy to implement IBC because they already have the foundation for it, right? Yeah. And if it's running on Tendermint, so the thing when you bridge ecosystems is you have to kind of like make sure that you don't mess up the consensus algorithms, right? And for chains that are built on Tendermint, it's an easy thing because it's the same logic, right? Yeah. So Terra is coming now, actually. Should have launched on September 9th, but they are going to launch now 3 weeks from now, I think on the end of this month, because they want to add it. They wanted to add some more features on the Columbus 5 upgrade. But once Terra implements IBC, then you also see UST, which is a multi-billion-dollar stablecoin, Anchor, Mirror, the entire ecosystem become Osmosis compatible, right? I mean, IBC means you can list it on Osmosis, and there's going to be pools. It's going to be the first stablecoin on Osmosis and Gravity DEX, which might drag in a bunch of people, also potentially whales, because you're kind of like decreasing the risk of impermanent loss here. But regarding other projects, I'm actually trying to to get the Avalanche guys to get on Cosmos. I spoke to their head of marketing, Jay, really cool guy. And he's really interested. He's like, man, let's collaborate. Let's kind of like cooperate and bridge our ecosystems and unlock that value, right? Maybe Avalanche could become a hub on the Cosmos ecosystem in the same way that Cosmos could become a subnet on Avalanche. But the thing is, and I have no technical background, so I can't, even join these discussions. I'm not qualified for that. But they're using a different consensus algorithm, which makes it much harder for the integration. I've seen, for example, the Harmony guys. They have a bounty now for people to kind of like build a bridge to Cosmos. Celo, they also received a grant, I think, from the Interchain Foundation. And in collaboration with Chorus One, they're going to build a bridge now to Cosmos. So I'm seeing like some big ecosystems are bridging over. Jack Zampolin, core developer at Cosmos, he said recently on my show that we're going to see substrate compatibility by the end of the year. Means that Polkadot and Kusama could be compatible with Cosmos, and that would be huge, absolutely huge. So yeah, this is one thing. And then obviously the elephant in the room is Ethereum EVM compatibility, right? We've seen now the first mover in that space has been SwiftChain, which is also a Cosmos ecosystem project. And they have expanded the original idea of Peggy, which is kind of like this concept to bridge EVM with Tendermint and with Cosmos. They have a running DEX. People can play around with it, where you can bridge your Ethereum assets, ERC20s, onto SwiftChain, and you can use them there. You can swap them for atoms, and then you can swap your atoms to Osmos, to Osmo, and farm there. It's a pretty cool bridge. And then the Gravity bridge is now in the final stages to go live, and that's then going to be implemented natively on the Cosmos Hub, which would make then Atom and the whole Cosmos ecosystem compatible with Ethereum. And there's some other projects like Injective, Ethermint, Sommelier Finance that is specifically designed to bridge Uniswap liquidity with Cosmos. Like there's so much coming. It's completely wild.
Yeah.
So
I'm not sure people are totally aware of how much, and this is going to be sort of like a pond based on what we were just talking about, but how much of an avalanche there's going to be with some of these things flipping the switch. The entire DeFi space runs on basically debt, lending, and stable coins, like liquidity writ large. And so because of that, all of these things that are starting to cascade and happen are going to take these isolated DeFi ecosystems and make them really, really, really supercharged, to your point.
Yeah, I agree. And I think interoperability, at least in my perception, is the next big thing, the next big narrative, because otherwise you have all those isolated islands. There are not, and how do you jump from island to island if there's no bridge in between?
Yeah.
So I think this is where we truly unlock value. And this does not only count for fungible tokens, right? Also for NFTs.
Yeah.
So I think this is also a very interesting thing. I know they're also, I'm not too deep in the whole NFT jungle, but I know that they're working on kind of like an IBC standard for the NFT world. This is also a very interesting concept, because then you can also, send NFTs cross-chain or basically interchain. So yeah, those concepts are really interesting, and I think interoperability is highly underrated, and true interoperability in the sense of trustless bridges, not in the sense of you have custodians in between, like you see with wrapped bitcoins, for example, that also enables interoperability, but in a trusted way, right? So, and we want to get rid of middlemen. So I think that's why I'm so excited about this whole concept and idea.
Yeah, definitely. I would encourage anyone who's watching who doesn't know a ton about Cosmos maybe, or doesn't know a lot about interoperability, wants to learn more, wants to dig deeper, please go and check out Cryptocito's channel, subscribe, absorb all the information, right? That's the goal. And we'll definitely have to do something again. Maybe when some of these updates land, we can do sort of a walkthrough for folks how to use the products and how to start earning in this space. I think that would be really cool if you're down for that.
Yeah, awesome. And man, really, really thank you for having me on. It's a real honor. I also on my channel make some tutorials, how to get familiar with osmosis, how to not mess it up and get wrecked there, because you have
Hmm.
to, yeah, also know what you're doing, or at least be
Right.
aware of what you're doing. Um, but yeah, and I think also one thing that people are still kind of like underestimating is also the role of Atom in this whole, in this whole Cosmoverse. So I think that's
Hmm.
also something we can talk about another time, maybe, because I know I saw, for example, Elio Trades. He made a video on Cosmos, and I was like, yeah, I don't know what Atom is really doing in that whole verse,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think this is also something that there's so much coming. I'm interviewing people, from Tendermint, Cosmos Hub lead, core developers, and it's really really exciting everything that's coming there. So yeah, looking forward to all these things.
Beautiful. Likewise. And first of all, thank you so much for joining me on the channel. And second of all, thank you to everyone who's watching the show. Please leave comments down below if there's anything that maybe didn't make sense you want to answer for. We'll help you out. And of course, until next time, cheers.